Hey guys, Solid Zero here, and this is your Resident Evil 2 Solid Review. The year was 1996, and Capcom blew everyone away with their horror survival game Resident Evil. So much so, they authorized the creation of a sequel dubbed Resident Evil 1.5. The characters to star in this one were going to be Leon S. Kennedy, a rookie cop, and Eliza Walker, a college student and motorcycle racer. But with testers wanting some connection to the original, they decided to change the main characters to Leon S. Kennedy, who is still a rookie cop, and add Claire Redfield in place of Eliza Walker. Claire is Chris Redfield's little sister, who is also a college student and motorcycle rider. They then changed the name from Resident Evil 1.5 to Resident Evil 2. The game testers loved the redesign of areas and characters, so it was released worldwide on January 21st, 1998. Between the two titles, this final version of the game was well received for its smoother gameplay, unique puzzles, dramatic increase in graphics, all while being set to an improved audio experience. The scenario system replay was also well received, as it made it feel like more of the world was explorable, and knowing that your choices were sometimes permanent also added an extra layer of depth to the game. Being the 6th best-selling game in the US and selling well over 2 million units in Japan alone in the first half of the year, Resident Evil 2 was truly an amazing game for its time and continues to wow people to this day. Or does it? Does Resident Evil 2 truly hold up after 23 years and 3 console generations? You know the drill from here. Is the original better than the remake? Let's find out by starting with Resident Evil 2 for the PlayStation 1. It should be noted that the original PlayStation version of the game came with 2 different discs, a Leon disc and a Claire disc. It was revolutionary. You could start the game as either character depending on the disc you chose. Nowadays, you don't have separate discs to choose from, but Capcom rekindled that nostalgia of the original and old scenario system replay by providing that option on the main game screen for the remake. My emulator does have a similar function, but I do miss choosing a disc. That particular sound that a PS1 disc makes when being snapped from its holder. Such fond memories. Anyway, for this review, let's start with Leon, and our mission is to meet up with Claire at the police station, where hopefully there lies more answers to this zombie outbreak in the area. You first meet up with Robert Kendo, the gun store owner, who almost shoots you for bursting into a store. Eventually, he understands you aren't there to eat him, and you find a brief moment to breathe, when suddenly zombies burst through the windows and, well, eat him. After losing Robert, you make your way through the streets and alleyways of Raccoon City, dodging zombie after zombie, finally making it to the police station, only to find it's not safe there either. You meet with police officer Marvin Branna, who's looking a little weathered for this storm. Bitten. He was bitten. And work your way through. Meeting a brand new enemy right out of the gate. Damn thing still gives me nightmares sometimes. Most of this game takes place here in the station, solving puzzles, avoiding zombies, dogs, and eventually finding yourself in an underground lab with the help of your new friend named Ada Wong. Here with more zombies and a new adult-sized carnivorous plant, you run around the entirety of the lab only to find out that Ada betrayed you to get the G virus. Not the T, but the G. And you need to get the hell out as the classic countdown timer and final boss present themselves. After all that fun, you get on the train with Claire and Sherry, and your nightmare is finally over. You never see Ada again. No, at least not in this part of the original game. Ada does come back in subsequent games, but who knows? We have the rest of the original game to get through. We need to finish Claire's part. What was she doing? Who is Sherry? And why is she wearing Ugg boots in a zombie apocalypse?
What are those?
Time for part 2. After Claire is separated from Leon, she makes her way to the police station on a different but shorter route, only to find the same thing. The station is lost. Zombies and monsters are rampant throughout, and the chief of police is of no help. Her puzzles are similar, but also different. That's okay, because we have found a child that's still alive. Her name is Sherry Birkin. She is the daughter of the scientists who made the new and improved G-Virus, and whose father decided to get himself injected and turned into the final boss of the game. Depending on who you choose to play first, Sherry will get infected by dear old Daddy, or not. Because I chose to play as Leon first, she was not infected. Also, while running around the station, you get to deal with a brand new enemy. Here comes Mr. X. He has issues with you. He takes offense that you are still breathing. He likes to pop up in the most inopportune times, especially when you may be low on ammo or health, or both. However, if you can get around him and the other monsters in the game, you make your way once again to the laboratory. After a brief but fierce battle with G-Daddy, after he evolves or mutates, in the laboratory you are tasked with several fetch quests in order to prepare for the final fights of the game. We are now one emergency elevator ride from the train. And when you get to the train, you will have to go through a mutated Mr. X. And just so you know, he is not to be trifled with.
Harder, better, faster, stronger.
This guy does not skip leg day. But put a few bullets in him, and you will get a visit from a mysterious figure. Psst, it's Ada. Who gives you the gift of a rocket launcher to blow up Mr. X. Then quickly make your way to the train, unlock the doors, and you're done. Enjoy the final scenes with you, Sherry and Leon, as you make your way out of Raccoon City. With nothing to worry about. Nope. Not a care in the world. Nothing wrong here. Yeah, you guessed it. Once more into the breach, my friends, as we gotta kill G-Daddy for good. And he's rocking a brand new look. I mean, evolution? I mean, mutation? Something that looks like a prickly bunghole and is itching at you with tentacles and teeth. But his big eyes are a dead giveaway, so just pop him with whatever ammo you have left. Use a machine gun, or a rocket launcher, or the damn kitchen sink, as long as it hits his eyes. Then, and only then, do you get to see the final sequence. The game has enough twists that M. Night Shyamalan would be proud of it. I mean, who knows? Maybe this game was one of his influencing medias as a director. Chronologically, it makes sense. I see the parallels. Lots of parallels. As a bonus, if you beat it at a certain difficulty fast enough and use no healing sprays, you're going to get some really cool gear. But we aren't here for that. Maybe that's going to be a different series. Let's critique. Well, same as Resident Evil 1, it suffers from a lot of the 90s voice acting, where there are times the voice fluctuations don't match up with the situation. However, it is improved, and they didn't use cringeworthy live-action sequences for anything in the game. Just good old cut CG scenes. Though the CG scenes of the time were industry-leading and top-notch quality. When they are compared to modern gaming, it is very outdated. But that's kind of to be expected. However, some sequences fall prey to the biggest sin that many military and paramilitary members, like myself, absolutely cannot forgive in movies and video games. The spray and pray.
Eat this, you freak!
Talk about one of the most absolutely horrible acts of cinematography, as it kills any realism for veterans and military members, not to mention law enforcement officers. But I digress. The graphics may not have held up, but the story and the gameplay definitely have. The story, the way it is, and how it tells its tale, captivates and keeps us engaged to see what happens to Leon and Claire next. Is another liquor around the corner, or is Mr. X going to chase me for a while? Also, remember in my last Solid review, link above if you want to watch it, and how I spoke that the second game had improved the first by adding in weapon upgrades? Well, now you get to experience that. and Leon's first weapon becomes a 3-shot burst and becomes easier to fire. And just like all of the games in this series, as you progress, so do the weapons. When you find a good one, you know it. Though Claire doesn't get any upgrades for her weapons, she does get access to 2 unique weapons in this game. Think Jubilee from X-Men and Arnold Schwarzenegger from the Terminator. Though I was able to get through Resident Evil 2 a bit faster than I did Resident Evil 1, it's not without its difficulties. Once again, playing on the easier mode, I did not die with Leon. However, I did die a few times with Claire. Notwithstanding the graphics, the game's sound, gameplay, and story are still well done ever by today's standards, and is considered by some on how a sequel should be done. 2 points for rhyming! Resident Evil 2 for the PlayStation 1 continued the series with honor, and paid respect to the first game. Now how does the remake fare? 20 years later. In 2018, Capcom unveiled the remake of Resident Evil 2 and sent the internet into a tizzy. When they dropped the demo, the internet was in a frenzy as gamers around the world enjoyed and savored every sentimental moment in 4K glory. 15 points to Capcom's Hogwarts House for correctly using the Chum the Waters maneuver, because 2 short weeks after the demo released, the full game was made available. Expectations were set ablaze. Gamers got to see their old friends, Leon and Claire, in complete photorealism, bathing in the reminiscent soundtrack of familiar screams, paired with the comforting gnaws and gnashing of zombie lips. The devs mentioned changes to the story which got everyone excited, and I gotta say, I was excited? Neurologically aroused, if you will. I, like others, found the idea of an enhanced, albeit changed, storyline provocative. The story was compelling and executed in a manner that really helped gamers emotionally invest in the characters. When something happened, you felt it. When someone died, or something morally wretched occurred, you were provoked. Another 15 points to Capcom's house! Graphically speaking, the original cannot come close to the remake. Where the original used static backgrounds to save on memory, the remake does away with the standard background imagery and brings realism to the gamer as they make their way through a police station that's being decimated by zombies and monsters. From the detailed lightning flashes to the rain on Leon and Claire's jackets, from the blood spatter to the grotesque slimy look of a liquor, the game goes all out while paying homage to the original. Man, I wish I was a fly on the developer's floor at Capcom when they were working on this remake. I'm sure they were saying things like, I love the gore of the original, but is there any way we can make it 90% more real and trigger the gamers to physically recoil? Or, I like how the monsters were designed in the original, but is there any way we can enhance their ability to be nightmare fuel by 40%? I mean, what were the KPIs for this project? How did annual or semi-annual reviews for the employees go? Jake, the blood spatter you have been designing looks more like a toddler's projectile diarrhea than blood. We're going to have to rate you as needs work in the realistic gore area of your review this year. Leaving graphics and moving on to the soundtrack, you get a choice. Only if you paid for it. You can set the game to a slightly remastered version of the soundtrack from the original PlayStation 1 game, with updated sound effects and music, or stick with the new effects and soundtrack for the game. Either way, the soundtrack sets the tone of every area within the station, helping to delineate and highlight all the major areas, such as the sewer, orphanage, and the lab. The music in the game knows where to set high points and low points, triggering slight anxiety and paranoia as you wonder what's going to be around the next corner. When a zombie crashes through a window and the soundtrack reflects the dire need and energy of the situation. The gameplay is so good. All of the game dynamic UI features added slowly over the series are here. However, with respect, we will not mention Resident Evil 6. We spit in disgrace of Resident Evil 6. We love being able to upgrade your weapons and inventory. Use the directional pad instead of joysticks. solve brain-teasing puzzles, and blow away new love-to-kill enemies. And Mr. X is back, not only for one scenario, but for both. He's here for both Leon and Claire. No matter what run you're on, he is a tough fight, as he follows you everywhere. Creeping. Just creeping. Actually, Mr. X's harrowing footsteps would have added a much-needed beat to Lonely Island's The Creep.
Do the creep, and do the creep.
Is that synergy? Take a lap! Speaking of creepy sounds, if you need it to be said, you can tell when Mr. X is near by the thumping of his footsteps. Only area he does not go into are the save rooms. This is similar to Nemesis from Resident Evil 3, but we'll get into Resident Evil 3 more next time. Then you get to play as either Ada or Sherry, both benefiting from improved gameplay. Sherry's run caters to more stealth as you evade a life-threatening psychopathic authority figure, whereas Ada's run is puzzle-heavy while fending off zombies and eluding Mr. X. Honestly, there's not much more to say other than a few gripes.
Oh, stop it. It's not going to be that bad.
Why can't we see or explore more of the city? In the opening, you see all of Raccoon City, and you don't get to see much after that. Just your standard abandoned vehicles, trash, and other evidence of overwhelming chaos. Then you're in the station, and the only other new area you'll get is the orphanage with Claire and Sherry. Why the hell can't Leon and Claire interact more? Is there a rule against it? In the original game, there were certainly more times that their paths crossed, and therefore interacted. In the remake, you meet up with Claire or Leon one time during the gameplay, and then you see them on a video monitor near the end, then one last time in the ending sequence. There was at least one or two more interactions that happened in the original, which at least made it feel like you were not alone. Remember, folks, it's always good to have an apocalypse partner. I have mine. I was expecting, craving, anticipating more variance between Leon and Claire's gameplay. Was it too much to ask for? Variations in the runs would have certainly helped gamers feel satisfied that they played the same game, again. You invested all that time, twice, for nothing new. Okay. I'll surrender and admit that there are some variations in puzzle access and solvability. But that's it. Leon can't even access the hard key, a gender trope from an unfair hell. And Claire can't get access to the jail cells from the parking garage. Same hellish gender trope, mind you. Only conclusion is that a lack of variation to this degree must give game developers a certain sense of misguided project management pride or budgetary satisfaction, and maybe unintentional access to the special hell that they so desperately deserve for using such gender tropes in this modern era. My three gripes aside, the game is amazing, and is a true and honorable remake of the original. It improved on the original and elevated the current expectation that Resident Evil as a franchise will now be held to. This game alone can stand on its own as a top-tier game, capturing the title of third best Capcom-created game, and earning a gold shield, and a 5 out of 5 ranking from me. But it's a tarnished gold shield. Remove the gender tropes and we'll talk about using some Brasso on it. Next time we're going to cover Resident Evil 3. Again, both the original and the remake. Though it wasn't my favorite as a youngling, it was in my top 5. So make sure to stay tuned to see the Twitch streams on Wednesdays at 8:30 Arizona time. Also, make sure that you join us on our Discord, link is down below, to stay up to date and be able to chat with yours truly. And if you want to support this channel in traditional Resident Evil style, shoot that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you aim for the bell icon and shoot it too, so that way you will be notified when my next video is here. With that said, this is Solid Zero signing off, and we'll see you next time. Later!